started visiting angels in Denny's living room.
It was just the two of us and one employee. We believe that we're going to triple our business in the next 6 years. And they might be, a small and frail person, but their life is huge.
Welcome back to the Founders Hustle. This podcast is all about talking with founders and hearing about their entrepreneurial journey. On today's episode, we welcome Denny and Ellen of Visiting Angels, Southwest Michigan, a family-run father-daughter team providing personalized in-home care. So welcome to the show. How are the two of you doing this morning?
Terrific.
Doing great.
Good to see you.
Yeah, your story intrigues me because you're my first guest on the show that are father-daughter duo or family-run business, but I appreciate the story behind how you got here. So I'd love for you to share, how did you become Visiting Angels? How did this all start?
So I grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan, Cereal City, and I ended up working with the Kellogg Company for 37 years. And at the end of my career, through some job changes, I found myself 57 years old and looking for something else to do. So I had about a year to think about it. And sometimes during that process, it dawned on me that instead of doing manufacturing, engineering, and innovation, I needed to do senior home care. And that seems a little incongruous, and it was at the time. But I woke up one morning saying, when I was a kid, I went to our little church took us to a nursing home, that's what we call it back in the day, every month for a birthday party. And I really enjoyed the interaction with people and helping them, whether cognitive issues or other issues. So it just, all of a sudden, I said, wow, this is what I need to do. But I was pretty sure I couldn't do it alone. And so I talked to Ellen, and she was a different part in her life. She can tell you about that. But she looked at me, and I think she's going, well, what the heck is this? But she said, yes, I'll do it. So that's how we started. Pretty fantastic.
Definitely a what the heck is this moment, because didn't know what home care was. I'm Denny's oldest of four children. And we, growing up watching my dad be an engineer, I was really good at math and science as well. I was STEM. I was going to be an engineer my whole upbringing, and went to U of M, go blue, and was there for aerospace engineering. Did my first year there, and I was like, this isn't what I love. I don't love this. And so I did a 180 switch to psychology. And I liked the way brains worked and people thought and the dynamics of that. So switched degrees, got my bachelor's in general psychology, and then a minor. I kept some math. I have a minor in statistics and also a minor in women's studies. So I was planning on going on to get to grad school for social work, and was going to kind of build something out of those. And while saving up money for grad school, I had gotten a job with EG Workforce Solutions, their staffing company, and helped people find jobs for about 3 years. One of the roles I filled for was Beacon Specialized Living Solutions. They're AFC. They run a bunch of AFC homes around Michigan. And I loved the people who I was hiring. They were different. They were different from the manufacturers and from the office workers and from the truck drivers. I've been in all sorts of fields, and I loved people's heart. So I was about to sign on the dotted line to go off to Madison, Wisconsin for school there. And Denny said, well, you want to hold off and help me kick off this company? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Sure, why not? So we started Visiting Angels in Denny's living room.
Really? In the living room?
It was just the two of us and one employee. And
what year was that?
2017, April of 2017.
So that's about 9 years ago. You started off in your living room with one employee. So tell me about that day. Okay, it's day one. You've got the visiting angels. You're all sitting in the living room. Like, what's that conversation look like?
Well, neither one of us had any experience in running a business. I was in the corporate world, and the good and bad. The good part of the corporate world is that you do what you do, but you have experts at the other end of the phone, so to help you with whatever. I used to complain about the IT department, and until I had to pick up the phone in this hand and in this ear, I had to answer the question because I was the IT department. But fortunately, my wife had some experience in small business, and so she sat down and we talked about things we thought we wanted to do ourselves. We talked about things we wanted to outsource, and we put a business plan together. And then we, as part of that, reviewed it with the franchise, and they were okay with it. And so then we set about finding a space and getting our systems together and the processes. We did do a training program in Pennsylvania, which is the home office, and which was very informative. But, we had a binder and some ideas, and we went to work.
Wow. Okay. So that was in 2017. Fast forward to today, how many offices and employees do you have?
We have 3 offices, and we have 135 employees.
Wow. Okay. So now you've got my ears perked. So you went from 1 employee to 100 and what'd you just say, 35?
35.
Tell me about that. Like, tell me about the growth. What did you do to get from your living room to 3 offices and 135 employees?
Well, we basically did it all, I guess you could say. Fortunately, Ellen had experience in recruiting, so she knew like Indeed or different places to go to recruit. I had history because I was old and knew people, and so we would call friends and say, "Hey, we're in this business," and we learned about Facebook, and we just started getting the word out. But it was interesting to start. I mean, you'd have to interview people, and you get a feel for, are they telling you what they really believe, or are they telling you something they don't believe? And so we went through a lot of different things that were real eye openers. The people that we recruit and thrive in this business, they have, as Alan said, they have a heart. And sometimes that heart is so big that, they take care of others really well, but sometimes they can't take care of themselves. So, getting to a job on time or following up on different things. So we had to work through, helping them succeed or helping them, find another line of work. But over time, we built up a good core of angels and of clients, and neither one of us had home care experience. So we learned a lot from the people that we brought in, but we also learned a lot by doing. So, YouTube, the first time, you have to go through a process of giving a bed bath. How is that done? And, what are the issues with helping somebody in and out of bed with a Hoyer lift? How is that done? And there were some nail-biting times where you walk into situations and go, I don't know if I can do this, and I certainly don't want to hurt anybody. But, we learned, and we got good employees, and we gained the confidence of our clients.
So what do you believe, what do you attribute to being your most successful marketing tactics to build your client base from nothing to the amount that you have today?
So for us, I think it might not seem very revolutionary, but for the home care industry, we have a care guarantee. And we call it our Angel in the Wings guarantee. And if a client has a visit scheduled with us, we will be there. So in the beginning, when we had one employee, that meant Denny and I would go. So we did get, for those first 2 years, we got a very solid foundation of what experience our angel care professionals were going through. What do they actually do every day? How do you make the perfect scrambled egg? How do you, deal with someone who's repeating the same story 20 times in an hour? So we when that client or that family we were on the schedule, we would be there. You'll hear other home care companies that if the person doesn't show up, well, good luck. I hope that goes well for you. But Denny and I didn't believe that felt right. So I think that has been our best marketing move that we ever made. And, at times it had us sacrificing working on the business instead of in the business. However, I think we've done over 500, or we've done over 500,000 hours of care in 9 years.
Wow.
And every moment we know that we've made a difference in somebody's lives for each of those hours. So.
Right. Well, okay, so we have you, Denny, 57. You've spent 30 plus years at Kellogg. Ellen, you've done a lot of education. You're just about ready to make a move. Let's get into the lessons learned. Like, was there ever a point at the beginning where you're like, wow, you just wanted maybe to throw in the towel, or you hit some road bumps where you second guessed, was this the right choice? Tell me about some of those situations that you may have run into and how you overcame those.
Well, in the early days, as Ellen said, our care guarantee meant that we were the 24/7 backup to our angels. And I can remember, and I wasn't ready to give up after the first angel, but our first client, we had an introduction to the angel. It was supposed to start at 7 a.m. in the morning, and the client called me at 7:02 and said, where's my angel? So that's when it was like, this is a different world I'm living in. People just don't show up. And it's like, wow. So my head had to get wrapped around that. But I would say during the first year that we had, it was just getting overly tired because you'd accept something, you'd get ready to go to bed, the phone would ring, and you'd have to get up, and then you would go. So I think there were some times where we kind of looked at each other and said, can we ever get enough help to do this? Are we going to find people that we can rely on? And so I would say in that first year was a real eye-opener. Mm-hmm. But I would say for me, it was like, I might have a bad night, but let's shake it off and try to keep going. Yeah. And cash flow, we started from zero here. We didn't buy we bought a franchise, but it was undeveloped. And so, we had to set up the office, we had to set up the processes, we had to get the people, and, cash flow early on in a business is iffy. And fortunately, I had some money from, leaving Kellogg's that I'd put aside for the business. So we were able to continue to fund it until we started getting enough clients to help us through. So.
Yeah. You didn't take a paycheck for a little bit.
Yeah. It was about a year. It was, and I told Ellen, I said, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm willing to work, to see if we can make this go. And then we've done things through the years. I mean, we took on a partner, that worked out for a little bit, and then she wanted to go a different direction. So there were, there's always bumps in the road. I think at that point, maybe Ellen had a ton on her plate trying to make sure that we were happy together working. And, but we navigated through that. And, in the last 3 years now, we've operated under the entrepreneurial operating system, which is a business model for small companies that have really taken a lot of what I'd learned at Kellogg's and what Ellen learned over time and put it together in a very structured and nice format. So we really feel good about where the company's at, and we have a solid, we put a 10-year plan together, and we're at 7 years left? 6 years left. So, and we're on track. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, it sounds like at the end of the day, you believed in yourselves. And I hear that from other entrepreneurs that thrive and are successful and they tell people, like, just believe in yourself. If you could start all over, would you do anything different? Did you learn anything that would say, I would have done this differently?
Yeah, I don't think I'm your typical entrepreneur. I don't have like a ton of I'm not what's called a visionary. So if you've ever read Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman and Mark Winters, they define a duo that is needed to build businesses, a visionary and an integrator. So I am what is called the integrator. I harmonize the business. I execute all of Denny's big ideas. And so, but I do love change. I do love process. I love jumping into things. So I think the biggest thing I would have changed 9 years ago is from day one, created more of a support system, a foundation for other small business owners, others in this. It felt very lonely the first couple of years. And I had Denny, and when we were running the business, but like you said, we had there was a cell phone attached to us 24/7 that we were answering. And, we were working 80, 100-hour weeks between the care we were providing and building the business. And I, my husband was very supportive. My family was very supportive, but a lot of things took the back seat to that. So I think if I would have talked to other people in the beginning, gotten involved, in maybe the Kalamazoo Chamber, or gotten involved in more women groups, that would have been a better, would have maybe helped me balance sooner.
Right.
And I think actually for me, one of the reasons I got into this business was I just like to meet people and help them solve problems. But more than that, just to meet people and learn about them. And there's a fantastic history that you get when you can go into a 93-year-old veteran's home and talk about, what happened to them over the course of their life. And they might be, a small and frail person, but their life is huge. And so I really I got a lot of energy out of that. If I would have done something different, I would have taken that and given that to someone else, even though I loved it. And I would have gone out and done the bigger networking things and going out in the community. I did that, but my heart was really in the other part. And when I finally gave that up, and I still miss it, I find that we've grown so much faster just because, you can go out and you can tell your story, and you can provide the quality guarantees, and you can grow the business. So I think when I got away from that, we grew faster. So we probably could have done that sooner.
Okay. Yeah. Which is really hard because, like you said, that's your passion. You love caring and hearing and being a part of it. So that's extraordinarily hard, but sounds like when you let go and did your thing as a business owner, and that's where the growth really happened. Now, Ellen, you talked about that you were an implementer of your father's big, grandiose ideas, which again piques my interest. Share with me one of the craziest big ideas that Denny threw at you that you had to implement, not had to, but that you chose to implement.
Denny so we started out with just one franchise. We were in Kalamazoo. When we merged, or when we joined with the other owner, she had like the surrounding area, more rural Michigan around Kalamazoo. And from about year 2, Denny had said that he wanted to get Battle Creek. It was Calhoun and Eaton County, and he really wanted those very badly. And I kept saying, someday, maybe, let's see. And because I knew that we already had so much territory to provide care, and that to take on another territory, I was like, we have to have processes in place. We have to have more offices. We have to have more people. Like these are he gives me those ideas, and all of a sudden I'm creating a checklist of, 100 things that need to get done before it happens. So finally last year in July, we did purchase that third franchise. So that was really exciting.
Congrats.
So that was his big vision. And then a big vision near and dear to my heart that he had was that he was building me into an owner. When I started with him, like you said, I was just doing recruiting. I was helping him find people. And then it kind of ballooned into doing the whole everything of the business. Well, Denny went out and found clients. I made sure the back end was running, and he would often say, "Someday you're going to be an owner. Someday you'll be an owner." And I kept in the back of my head, I'm like, "Nope, it won't happen." I don't. All the imposter syndromes that go through, like I don't have enough knowledge. I can't make those decisions, very defeatist things that were saying inside my head. And for 5 years, Denny mentored me and sat through crying spells and sat through, the elation when things went really well and when things didn't go so well. And finally, one day I was like, I can do this. Like, this is something I have it in me to do it. And then once it clicked, there hasn't been much doubt since it's happened. So I took 50% ownership of the business in March of 2023. So,
Fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations. And the imposter syndrome is a real thing. I mean, I experience it as well. And so for you to overcome that and become part owner and thrive, that's woman to woman, like, fantastic. Love hearing that. Everything that you have built to today, what do you envision Visiting Angels is going to look like in the next 10 years? What do you foresee doing?
Well, it's a great question. When you buy a franchise, you buy it for 10 years, and then so you're forced to make a decision. Do you keep going?
Oh,
and
okay.
Ellen and I have both decided that we're going to take this on for another 10. When we got into our EOS program, it also takes you through a process where you put your business on 2 pages, and it's called the Vision Traction Organizer, and it tells where you're going to be at certain milestones: 1 year, next quarter, 1 year, 3 years, 10 years. And so when we laid that out and looked at it, we believe that we're going to triple our business in the next 6 years. We've had 30% growth the last 2 years as we've gotten focused, and we've got great people that work with us. And we're just excited about, doing more of the right things for the people.
I'm excited about AI in the sense that we can utilize technology to help with some of our administrative tasks that really frees us up to spend more time with our angels and our clients. We've got, out of the 135 people who work for us, 13 of us work in our office, which we call our support team. And the role of us 13, that support team, is to support our clients and our angels. And we would really like to move away from spending a lot of time doing kind of the redundant admin work and get to spend more face-to-face time. So that's something that I'm excited about, that we're all impacted by the change in AI. And we've always been a technology forward-facing company. So that'll be exciting. Being able to, right now we're taking care of 125 people at this moment. Tripling that, being at 400, 500 will just be so much more impactful to our community. So we know the silver tsunami's coming. That's what they've coined this, the growth of the individuals who are going to be 65 and up. And we just want to provide that at-home care that keeps people safe, independent, and comfortable in their own home. So.
Yeah, our drumbeat is kind of, we call it Angel Care Beyond Compare, but we put one angel with one client for 1 hour, and that's where the magic happens, because they can have a relationship, things can get done in the home, there's comfort, safety, security, and every hour is kind of what we want to focus on. So as Alan said, we've got this support group to say, hey, this is the right person for you, this is what you need to do together to to achieve the safety, comfort, independence at home, and then duplicate that. And we're currently at 18. We do 1,800 service hours a week. Our goal is to do 6,000 service hours. So that's, I don't know, 6,000 points of light or whatever, however you want to call it. But that's what we boil it down to. And at least for me, and I think I speak for Ellen, that's kind of what drives us. Because there's all sorts of stuff, you got to get insurances, you got to do taxes, you got to do, you got to get people to urgent care. There's all sorts of things that go into that 1 hour. But if we could do that many, I think we would feel very accomplished and providing opportunities for both people and clients to make their lives better.
That's fantastic. So thinking about your journey thus far, if you had to look a future entrepreneur in their eye, a future leader, or just a darn good coworker, what advice would you give the budding entrepreneurs that you have learned from your journey?
I would swallow my pride on everything. I would basically go into it with my eyes wide open saying, I don't know what I don't know. And I would surround myself with people that do, and I would listen to them. I mean, I think as you grow up and you get confidence in a career, you think, well, I know how to do that. I know how to do this. And you get some blinders on. So, find the person in your business that, your type of business knows what they're doing. Join a Rotary group, go to a BNI group. Find like-minded people, because businesses are businesses. They provide, we're a service business, but there's tons of service business. So what can you learn about customer service? What can you learn about relationship building? What can what are great vehicles to get your name out there in a positive way? And so that would be my, advice.
Right. Ellen, do you have anything to put on top of that one?
I think, from like a more internal perspective, be willing and ready to change, to grow. It's so cliche, but never stop growing. But what I mean in that terms is, between every, book I read for myself, every fiction book I read, like a business related book or a self-help book. I am a huge proponent of, going to therapy to be the best person you can be, to, figure out those blind spots tend to be pretty deep and internal, where they're coming from, and finding the source of them, and how do you overcome that, and how do you really show up, as that leader, as that person that other people want to be like, that other people want to follow, that they trust. And so I see a lot of great ideas, a lot of great plans, but if you will lose yourself along the way, if you don't take care of you.
Yeah. I can definitely see your psychology education working through your head, and your compassion and your caring. That is fantastic.
We do like to start a lot of our processes, or that's probably why I loved recruitment, because my team is constantly changing our recruiting questions, because I'm like, well, let's get deeper. Let's really get to know this person in 3 questions. This is so exciting. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky because we're people helping people. So there's a lot of psychology and brains behind what we do.
There sure is. Well, go ahead and share with our audience who are your best clients or patients that you would like to get as part of your business, and how do people find Visiting Angels of Southwest Michigan?
Well, we're pretty much soup to nuts. We do short-term care. Like, say, for example, somebody has a hip surgery and they just need a little bit of help at home for a short period of time. We're happy to do that. we're excited when we actually go in and work with them for a while, then they don't need us anymore. On the other hand of the spectrum, we do a lot of work with folks with memory loss that are on that journey with maybe by themselves or with a spouse. And we can come in and help them through that journey. We can help a little bit in the home, but I think a big advantage is just having somebody that knows that process. What happens when you have Alzheimer's? What happens when you have dementia? What happens when you have Parkinson's? What should you look for? What should you not worry about? How can you take care of them in a way that they need by, changing your perception? And so those clients we like because we think that we do a lot of good for those families, just to give respite to the caregivers. And we have fun. We have fun with the clients. I've had a conversation with a advanced Parkinson client sitting next to me watching a Western when I was filling in. He couldn't speak. He couldn't understand what I was saying, and I couldn't understand what he was saying. But we'd ask questions. He'd respond. We'd laugh. And it's a moment that it's just, you can bring a little bit of joy. So we don't have any cases. We really will take the hard ones. We'll take the difficult ones, and we think we can help in most any situation.
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people reach out to us in those emergency situations when they're in the hospital and deciding, do we go to rehab? Can we go home? What does that look like? We can help in all those circumstances, in those crisis moments. We've got someone who can answer our phone 24/7. I always think a phone call is the easiest way. For those looking to just that are starting to plan and think about it, we have a really nice web page that kind of explains what is home care, what tasks can we assist with. We are what's considered non-medical, so but we have a lot of referral and connection points for the medical side as well. And on our online, we have a interest page you can fill out, and we'll reach out to you right away as well. Our team can answer all sorts of questions, anything that you may need to know, from how much does this cost to what happens if my parents kick out their angel, what do we do? And then we do a no cost, no obligation at-home consultation. So we call it an angel care consultation. One of the members of our care team comes out and gets to talk about what that looks like. So some people need it right away. Some people are just checking it out, just seeing what it is and getting ready for when they do have to pull that trigger. So we can pretty much staff immediately and, want to do our best to keep people home.
Excellent. Yeah. So to all the listeners out there, Visiting Angels of Southwest Michigan. Check them out. See what they have to offer. And Ellen, Denny, father-daughter duo, this was fantastic. I really appreciate your time. I love hearing your story. And I love seeing a successful family-run business. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Founders Hustle. I would absolutely love to know what resonated with you the most from today's guest. Go ahead and drop me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, if there's a future topic that you'd like me to touch on, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. But no matter where you're watching or streaming your favorite shows, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. Tell a friend about this. I would love the support. But in the meantime, keep living, keep growing, and keep hustling, because you are meant to do great things. See you next week.